Hello and welcome to the show, everybody. This
What up,
is
YouTube?
this is Small Talk, the show where we have small talks about big things. It could be anything from politics to pop culture. This week we're talking about some politics. The topical, although it was topical. Joe Biden recently announced that he's going to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt for people who have those. It doesn't feel topical anymore because yesterday he just announced that half of America are threats to democracy. So
Yeah, that was one heck of a talk.
yeah, that's
But remember, he's bringing us together.
that's a
Gag
nice
me.
way of
Gag me.
unifying the country, right?
telling, because, all right, regardless of everything, you got to remember 49% of the country voted for Donald Trump.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into election fraud, stuff like that. We don't need to. Numbers as they are, assuming they are correct, 49% of the country voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
71% voted for Biden. You're still looking at. I mean,
51.
51. Sorry, 51% got.
I don't know if the math adds up there.
Yeah, I didn't, but 51% voted for. But you're still looking. You're still looking at I think it was something like 78 million people voted for Trump. It's just. Anyway.
Yeah, Jacob, I've been traveling all over the world recently. I'm currently back at YouTube headquarters. I was here a couple weeks ago, and I'm moving up in the world. So
slowly but surely.
Yeah, we're gonna dip our toes in the water tonight, though. We're gonna talk about.
Will your channel get a strike for this? We'll find out. I'll try not to, but you never know.
I don't think anyone's banning people for talking about student loans. Maybe if we get into the other topic. Yeah. So apparently Biden's forgiving $10,000 of student loans if you have them, and we're going to talk about that. The point of the show is to try and condense our arguments. I don't know if we're going to be very condensed tonight at all, because we both have things to say. But Corwin, you've prepared the presentation, right?
Yeah, I have. I have done copious amounts of studying on this, and I have a ton of notes. We're just going to go for it. I'm not even going to pull it. I've got it. I can talk about it.
All right. You want the timer?
Yeah, give me the timer. Give me the timer.
Right.
And then we can just open up the discussion wherever I'm at the whatchamacallit.
Because I've got some audio visual components to share this week.
I'm down for your audio visual. Let's do it.
It's a video. That's it.
Awesome. Okay,
whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, hit the timer. I've got it. Whenever you're ready, hit the timer. Let's
Here we go.
Okay, 7 minutes. So here's the thing, YouTube. Everyone thinks that the student loan debt forgiveness is good. It's not. It's terrible. It's garbage. And there's several points why. We're going to go through several things. One is it's a huge cost. People are going to be paying for it out the wazoo. That $10,000 that you just got, you're going to be paying that back triple in taxes.
Wait, it's not just free money? Where does the money come from?
Right. 2, it's it's very unfair to multiple people. It's sure people, I get free money. Yeah. But what about all those who didn't go to college? What about all those like myself and our wonderful host here? I gotta remember we're opposite in videos. Alan, Alan, we worked together. We worked together through college.
Yeah.
Both myself and Alan
gave up several opportunities so that I could do college without loans.
So you could pay for your wife's master's degree. I mean, like you guys worked your butt off.
Yeah.
Right? Like I did. I paid for my degree and my wife's degree. It took me 6 years to graduate So we'll talk about that real quick. And then the other thing I want to talk about is it is disproportionately unfair. It is disproportionately unfair. And most of the money is going to go to rich people anyway.
Yeah.
And 2, and I guess 4, and number 4, the number 4 is my mind's drawn a blank here. It's a larger problem. You just forgiving this is not going to solve the issue. We have an arm that's been chopped off, and it's just like the government again with the government coming in. Here's a Band-Aid when you're just like bleeding profusely out of your arm. Like it's not going to solve the problem. We're going to be back in this same boat 3 years from now. Like that's what's just going to happen.
Mhm.
Right. So
I like that point. Yeah, it is definitely. I wouldn't even call it curing one of the symptoms. You hear that a lot. Oh, you're addressing the symptom rather than curing the disease. I
yes,
wouldn't even call it curing or trying to help with one of the
what
symptoms.
what it is it's like you have a fever of 105.4 and you're just a little bit ready to go to the hospital, another 0.6 degrees and you need to go to the hospital, and someone comes up to you and goes, here's some baby ibuprofen. Like that's exactly what this is. Anyway, all right, so I've got 4 minutes to hit these points. So point number one, it's unfair to many. Let's talk about that. I worked my butt off to go through college. I have a college degree. I have 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's and I have an associate's degree. I have a bachelor's with a minor and an associate's degree. My wife also has a bachelor's degree with 2 minors. I believe she has 2 minors. We worked our butts off. I quit quit school at one point so I could focus full time on paying my wife's college off. What could I do with $20,000? If $20,000 just landed in my bank account right now, I currently live in an apartment. If I had 20 grand landing in my lap right now,
That's a down payment on a house.
That's a down payment on a home. Yep, I could be in a home. Exactly. It is extraordinarily unfair. Like yourself, we worked at the same job. And there was a lot of pros and there was a lot of cons with that job, but it was a job. It was a work. It was hard.
I took that job specifically because it was free housing.
Yeah, it was free housing. They paid you a little bit.
We didn't get paid a lot of money at all.
No, it was just the free housing.
It was a little bit more than minimum wage.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I actually really enjoyed that time because I remember
I loved that
because I had you, one of my best friend and his wife living on this side of me, and then above me because I had my other best friend and his wife. It was just a good time. We had anyway, but we were all poor. We were poor college students, but we worked our butts off. What about the kids? What about the people who didn't go to college? What about all these workers who went to like a technical school?
They're suddenly paying for you to go to college,
right? And now they're paying for kids to go to college. It's just totally unfair. That's totally unfair to them, 100%. When they knew I don't have the money to go to college, so I'm going to go to a technical school, or I don't have the money to go to college, so I'm going to go get another job and work at the other job. And now this has been shifted to the taxpayers, and that's what we're going to talk about. It's been shifted to the taxpayers. They're estimating right now. So going to point 2, it's going to cost a ton of money. And people right now just don't get the numbers because the government's just spending out the wazoo, and they don't understand that this house of cards that the government is building is just going to come collapsing down. It really is. And when you're standing in, I know this is kind of apocalyptic, but it's going to get there. When look at Greece. Greece had a complete collapse.
Look at the debt clock and tell me that's not apocalyptic.
Right. At some point, the debts get called in, whether that is in 5 years from now or 15 years from now, and we're standing in food lines like all these other countries that have collapsed because they've done all this crap stuff.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah, the bread lines in Russia. By the way, if you didn't know that, that was Bernie Sanders when someone quoted it. That's a good thing. Their food line, that's a good thing. I mean, just a freaking moron. But the government's estimating it's going to cost $300 to $500 billion. Now, it's just numbers that you don't understand. Like you can't wrap your mind around it. But if I looked at you and said, "Hey, I want that,"
it's hard to wrap my mind around $1 million.
Right. And suddenly, and when has the government ever been right in estimating any cost ever? Ever. So if the government's going, well, we think it could cost anywhere from $300 billion to $500 billion. That's like me looking at you and saying, hey, I'll give you $3,000 for your computer, or hey, I'll give you $5,000 for your computer. That's a big difference. Let's build a gaming computer for $3,000, or let's build a gaming computer for $5,000.
Those are different computers,
right? Let's buy a house for $300,000, or let's buy a house for $500,000. But again, since when is the government?
I wish I had a $500,000 house,
right? But since when has the government ever been right on 500 billion, their estimates? So we're just going to say the high.
I don't think they've ever been right on it.
$500 billion just for this, just for the Band-Aid, just for the baby ibuprofen for the fever that's getting ready to send you to the hospital. That's what this is. So then the next point, we're running low on time. I knew I would have a struggle with this one. So the next point I've got is, so I'm definitely going to go over this. I just know it's going to happen.
Totally fine.
Yeah. The next point I've got is the most of the money is going to the rich anyway. by
Yeah.
the way. Did you know that 40% of all loans, I think I'm right on this. Let me
Federal
look up
loans. Yeah.
of federal loans. That's right, it is. So 40% of all loans are going to 40% of all student loan debt, according to estimates by American Progress Schools, take up all our doctors, lawyers, advanced degrees, and they take out the majority of the money, but they have better jobs. And we'll get into the myth of higher education. They
Yeah.
have the jobs that provide more money, but they've taken out the most money and they're getting the most money. CNN, out of all people, CNN did an article that said 70% of this $500 billion the government is going to spend is going to go to
Doctors and
people that
lawyers.
earn over $120,000 a year. 70% of this 500 billion is already going to those who make 120 plus grand a year. And the other 30% are those that make less than that. So you've already got a vast majority of your earners, or like high wage earners, your top 10%, I'll say, getting more money. And yet here they are saying, well, we need to help the little person. You're screwing the little person. The government knows this. The schools know it. Anyway, so there's point. Continue. And
7
now
or something.
What?
0.7. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
remember.
0.7. We're off. Now, and the other point I've got is the bigger problem is the fact that the myth. Let's go to the myth of higher education. Let's do this because Jacob Ironside made a comment. He said, "I chose not to go to
Yes,
college."
I'll pull it up. It was She-Hulk tour. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong comment.
That's the wrong comment.
That's the wrong show, Jacob. We'll talk about that on Sunday. Yeah, I chose not to go to college. One, because of the price, and the other, I go to college to learn something, and I get told how bad I am for being white. Yeah.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong on that at all. Just for that, I chose not to go to
I
college
could tell you
because-
that I could tell you you're bad for being white for free.
Yeah, 100%. And but why not just Jacob? If you want me to, if you're a masochist and just want me to yell at you until you're an evil person, I'm $20 an hour. Anyway, but the whole point is these colleges are accepting free money, and here's the problem. Let's just get to the crux of it, and then we can open this up more. The crux of the problem is higher education is a scam. It has been a scam. And people say, well, I want my people to be educated. Great. I get that. I understand that. But higher education, private institutions, or even public institutions are still for-profit institutions. They're supposed to be for-profit institutions. And so what you have right now, is the federal government coming in with loans and saying, you can't afford to go to college? Great. We'll give you the money to go to college. You go to college. And so these universities accept everybody for any program because they automatically see the money. It's just like if you go to buy a car.
Well, yeah, obviously it wasn't always the case like this.
No,
this wasn't always the case. If you could afford to go to college, then you would go.
Or
but then,
the college funded your education. The college gave you the loan.
Yeah, because the government is stepping in and saying, no, we want everyone to go to college, so we'll give you loans so that you can go. Well, the universities, they see that and they think, well, we can raise the prices then.
Raise the prices, free money. We don't care about the investment. Our students are no longer the investment. Our students are commodity to be sold to the government. Yeah. Our students are a commodity because if you didn't have the money, you would have to go to the bank and get a loan from the bank, or you would have to go to the university and ask the university to give you the loan to go to college. Yeah. Now, that's what it needs to be. That is how you fix the system. And here's why I say this, because the government, again, banks. Right, because I'll put it, for example, Yale has a $47 billion bank account. It's called an endowment at higher education. They have $47 billion at any point that they could spend on anything, anytime, anywhere. $47 billion. Yale. Now go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame has something like $52 billion in an endowment. $52 billion. We're not talking like, oh, the university's worth $52 billion if you include the building and all. No. We're talking their bank account, their endowment is $52 billion.
Yeah, I feel like the universities should be giving out the loans themselves.
That would fix the problem.
That would 100% fix the problem.
It would fix the problem.
If they raise the price, they're not going to get the money back.
Right. Not only
they're going to vet everyone too, and they're only going to give money. So it also fixes the problem of people going to college and getting worthless degrees.
Because I was just about to go there.
Yeah.
So
The doctors and the lawyers who hold
yes,
70% of the debt, they don't need help paying the debt back because they have a job that can pay the debt back. But when you go to college and you get a gender studies degree, which is fine if you want to educate yourself, but what kind of job is that going to get you?
that. So
And
personal
I
story.
say this as a social studies major.
A political science major. I
I
didn't go to law, and it's
I have a
the
degree
worst thing
in
I've done.
Spanish. Okay. My wife has a degree in English. I would say about 50% of English degrees are worthless. My wife did it right. She went into college with the intent of learning business skills, of learning skills that she can use in a job. And
Yes,
but half of the people don't do that.
and that's the myth.
Well, if you have an English degree, what can you like what relevant job experience do you have other than teaching English?
And see, that's the myth of higher education. To go
And
to a point,
and
the myth of
that's me too. I'm part of
yes,
this. Okay.
yes, I
I'm
am
not
too.
saying, oh,
100%.
all English majors are worthless. That's not true.
My
Half of
political
them are.
science degree is worthless because I didn't continue to law school. I decided to become a cop instead.
Yes.
My political science degree is worthless. Am I more educated? Sure, absolutely. Do I understand and can I read law and stuff? Because I took the pre-law test to go into law school. I could have, but I just decided against that career choice and I went another route. So am I a better person because of it? Sure. Did it help me financially? No, it destroyed me financially. It hurt me. It sent me back 7-8 years. But going on that, there's the myth of higher education that if you get a college degree, it doesn't matter what college degree, you just get a college degree. Yeah, Jacob said, I've got 5 nephews. They're not going to college. They're not college age yet. I'm encouraged them to go to trade schools.
Trade
Yes.
school.
I know
fantastic.
welders. I know welders
Plumbers
that make over $100,000.
so much money, man.
I know plumbers that make over $100,000. I know cabinet makers that make over $100,000. I know mechanics that make over $100,000 that make way more money. I know people that went to trade schools that make a ton more money than people who go to college because there's the myth. You went to college, you got a degree, you deserve a higher paying job. You will get a higher paying job. The colleges know this is a lie. Let me get off this tangent.
Hold on. Before we move away from trade schools, though, there have been several, scary things happening in our nation, and people are wondering if, there could be another recession or God forbid, a depression.
Oh,
right?
We are in a recession. They changed the
yes.
definition. Remember, we are in a recession.
No, we are in a recession.
The definition
but when
of recession was
when
2 quarters of negative growth, and we've been in 2 quarters of negative growth, and they were like, "Oh, that's not a recession anymore." So yeah, we are technically in a recession.
Okay, but if God forbid the economy were to collapse, what's going to be more useful, knowing how to make cabinets and do plumbing, or having an English degree? But now that was my point.
So on the tangent of the higher education will get you a higher paying job, the colleges know this is a lie. They know it, which is why they allow anyone at any time to get.
It's 100% true for doctors, lawyers,
engineers, accountants, engineers.
Yes.
Right, 100%.
That is 100% true.
But so let me give you
the other ones. It's not.
When me and my wife were still dating, she had a roommate. I'll say this roommate's name was Jane. And Jane was an art history major. She was getting her degree in art history. And I remember sitting down with her and I said, Jane, how many, what are you going to do with art history? Well, why are you studying it? And she went off on this 20-minute tangent about, well, if you find an ancient coin, this is what art history is. Let's say you find a coin in the ground in Italy and it has an emperor's face on it. I could tell you all the history about that coin and yada, 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 yada. And she went on for 30 minutes. If you give me a piece of
awesome
art,
skill.
It's an awesome skill. It's cool. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
And I told her, she got very offended. I said, Jane, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this as a career? And her response was, well, I'm looking to get a curator position at a museum. That's fantastic. How many jobs are those?
How many
in the nation? Yeah. How many in the nation? 500? That's going to pay you a living?
Okay. There's 500 job openings. How many people have art degrees?
Right. I asked her
a lot more than 500.
I said, how many in your class in your class, because we were at BYU, she was going to BYU. I said, how many at BYU are in your same graduating class that have art history degrees? Do you want to know how many teachers? She told me 400. She said there was
in
400
just her school, in her class.
400 art history. She said somewhere around there. She goes, somewhere around 400. And I said, so they're all going to try to get the same job you're going to get. And we're saying there's no more than 5, maybe we could even be generous, 1,000 jobs around the nation, around the United States. Let's say there's 5,000 jobs in developed countries,
And
United States, Europe, Japan. Let's say there's
are
5,000.
they even hiring right now?
Bingo. I said, so you're going to compete in the nation that has maybe 500 of these jobs that will provide you a living with the 400 people in your class, the 399 people, not only in your class, but the 400 in every other major university around the nation. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. And the universities know this, and they don't care. Why? Because they get their money. You go to the federal government, you get your grant, you get your Uncle Sam grant, and the federal government pays the university money. So of course the university isn't going to say our students are no longer our investments. So whenever they say we invest in our students, bull crap. You do not. You get the money no matter what happens because the federal government's already giving it to you. Like when I go buy a car, when I buy a car and I drive the car off the lot, I take a loan from the bank. The bank gives the money, that the $30,000 for the brand new car, and gives that 30 grand to the dealership. The dealership no longer cares. They have their 30 grand. I have the car, and now I have to pay the bank back. It's the same thing with the colleges. The colleges don't care that there's 400 people in their degree, in their art history.
They already
degree.
got their money.
They've already got their money. They don't care if they graduate. They have already got their money. I'm done. You want to know how to fix this? Government gets out of loans. That's the ultimate thing. I hate
the term predatory loans, because that makes no sense.
So
why would you loan money to someone knowing that they will never be able to pay you back?
Right. Why am I going to give you a degree? And if colleges cared, why would I give you a degree? Why would I let anyone sign up for gender studies, political science, English, Spanish,
if you know you couldn't make money off that?
Dance, photography, basically any of the humanities? Why would they?
Or the performing arts. Yeah.
Or the performing arts or humanities. Why would they allow that to happen if they knew that their students were their investment? Get government. Again, the answer to a lot of stuff is just get government the heck out of the way, and government doesn't need its hands in everything. Get government out of the way, and now the students have to go to the college. You can't tell me Yale doesn't have the money to give student loans. They have $47 billion in their bank account. You can't tell me they can't say we're going to give $1 billion in student loans this year.
Mm-hmm. Or that a bank couldn't give you a loan.
Or that a bank couldn't do it. You can't tell me that. And then watch the universities. If that happened, watch how fast the universities would say, oh, we do have an art history major. We do. We have an art history degree. We have an English degree. We have a whatever.
We're only going to let the real good ones in.
We're only going to let 10 people in the program this year. That's it. Why? Because suddenly the student becomes the investment, because they know if the student can't pay that loan back, they lose the money. Yeah. They lose the money, not anybody else. That's how you fix this. Now, if you want to, and the people are saying, well, there's some people, and this is like you said, let's talk about the predatory loans, like you said.
The argument is that education should be free for everyone. Everyone deserves to be able to have a college
called high
education.
School.
Yeah, high school is great, but also, what good would if everyone in the country had a gender studies degree? What would that do? What would that produce?
But let's go back to the high school thing. Because I've discussed this and I've argued this. I actually talked to a buddy of mine and told him to play devil's advocate before I started this. And he's on the same page we are. You know him. It's my buddy Taylor.
Yeah.
So he's a big political guy. We went to college together and whatnot. But I had him play devil's advocate. Anyway, so he brought that up, and I said, well, here's the problem. High school is already a free education. And people say, well, high school isn't higher. It should be. Why are on all these, I'm going to be honest, these liberal cities, these huge liberal cities, vastly Democrat, how come their literacy programs, high school graduates are now graduating at like a 6th, 7th grade reading level. They can't do 6th and 7th grade math. And it's so bad that they're now saying that math is racist because they can't pass it. No. It's because of your failing educational programs. You're failing. I mean,
those are the same states where they put the most money into education as well.
Right. So it's obviously not a money issue, but now when you're suddenly your whole schools, when a whole high school,
DC has put more money into education than any other state, and
we'll take Detroit,
and they're performing the worst.
Yeah, take Detroit. Less than 20% of college or high school graduates are actually at a high school level, reading level, math level, science level, anything level. The same thing, and there's very similar numbers throughout all these huge major urban areas in these major cities. Free education is high school. If you go back 30, 40 years ago and you compared the numbers to today, it's astronomically different. It's astronomically different. But they have sold this lie of higher education is superior and higher education will give you more money and higher education says you get a new job. And it was a very well told lie. And a lot of people have bought into it. So let's fix it, because I hate talking about, so we've already talked about that, but let's fix the student loan issue. And here's the student loan issue. It is true that a lot of these kids got degrees that won't let them pay it back.
Yeah.
Won't let them pay it back. How do you fix it? You don't forgive it, because that's stupid. It's a huge burden on the taxpayers, like we talked about. It's also disproportionately advantageous to people who are already rich.
It's incentivizing bad behavior.
It's incentivizing bad behavior. How do you do it?
That's like I understand. When you become a parent, that's the first thing you learn. Oh, if my kid does a bad thing, I don't give him a candy.
Right. Exactly.
If he does a good thing, I give him a candy.
With just this,
basic stuff.
Just this, we are going to be back in the same student loan. Now they're even talking about, if you go online and you look, it's the same thing with the $15 minimum wage talk about.
Oh, it used to be
$15. We need $15.
It used to be $15.
They got 15.
Now it's 25.
And now it's 20. Now it's 25. If you go look right now, there's now articles saying $10,000 isn't enough. We want $50,000. $50,000 student forgiveness plans.
Yeah.
10,000 isn't enough. If you give a mouse a cookie, the famous
book, I was literally
he's gonna want a glass of milk. It's that simple. So how do you fix this? Take away the concurring
different solution.
Different solution. Take away the predatory loan. Go to a flat fee loan on student loans. Pass a law. Why? I know teachers who were in high school who paid like $175,000, because a lot of people don't get BYU and universities in Utah are very different when it comes to how they take care of their education. I paid $22,000 to $2,400 a semester. BYU is very similar if you're a member of the LDS church. If you're not a member of the LDS church, it's like $14,000 a semester.
Go to state college.
Those are the average tuitions around a state college.
Go to community college.
But if you go out of university, or let's say you're not a member of the LDS faith and you go to BYU, you're paying $14,000 to $20,000 a semester. It's an astronomical amount of money. So there's a lot of teachers. Like I said, there are some teachers in Pennsylvania that we talked about, and they talked about it. Obviously, they're liberal because most of education people are liberal. That's fine, whatever. We're not here to discuss that particular thing. But they would say, yeah, I had $175,000 in student loans. It's going to take me 15 years to pay it back. Why? Because they use it just like a mortgage, and the mortgage is just as bad. It's a predatory loan. It is a predatory loan. Instead of saying you borrowed $100,000 for student debt to go to college, you need to pay over 20 years. You need to pay us $130,000 back. No. It's that 2, 3, 4, 5% interest. And over the course of 20, 30 years, you have paid 3 to 4 frickin' times the amount of your loan. It's a trap. I took out $100,000 loan for my student debt, and I'm on a 3 or 4% interest rate for 20 years. At the end of 20 years, you have paid frickin' $600,000, $700,000 to pay off that $100,000 loan. It's predatory. It's evil. It is evil.
Yeah.
And that would solve it. If they were righteous, if we had and I know this is getting a little preachy at this point, but if we had righteous, good people in the government, they would come out and say, no, you still owe that $10,000 or $100,000 student loan. We are just going to get rid of the whole 2.5% interest
just get rid of the
over
interest.
20 years. We're just going to go a flat fee of, you could even go a little higher.
That's the whole point, though. They lied. They say the whole, we want people to have an education. But that's not what they want. They want money from people who want to have an education,
and an astronomical.
And if it were true that they wanted to provide education for everyone, then they would provide loans with no interest.
See you, Mr. Ironside.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks for
if they were actually interested in people getting educations, you could provide a loan with no interest.
Yes, or 25% interest, because you have to beat inflation. All right, 25% interest over 20 years.
But that's treating a symptom, because the solution would be remove government from loans at all.
Right. But that would even if you wanted to keep government in it, which I am firmly against.
Yeah, but that would still that wouldn't get rid of the problem of colleges constantly raising the price.
No, that wouldn't get rid of the problem, but it would get rid of the problem of.
It would get rid of one of the symptoms.
It would get not just one of the symptoms. It would be like you actually applied a tourniquet to a hemorrhaging wound, like a lost hand. It would actually be you're still going to lose your hand, but at least you're not going to die. Yeah. And right now they're giving a Band-Aid. They're giving a little Band-Aid when a tourniquet needs to be applied. Yep. And if we had righteous people in government, that's how you could handle the student loan debt right now. We are canceling all interest on the student loan. If you took out $25,000, if you took out, we'll just say $100,000 because it's easy to do numbers. If you took out $100,000 in student loan debt, you owe us over 20 years 25%. You owe us $125,000, or you could even go over 15 years. But instead, it's this 2.5% interest over 30 years, and you're paying out your rear, and it compounds every month. And suddenly you're poor. And student debt and the government have designed this system to keep people poor.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: people are going to tell me,
because it keeps them reliant on the government.
Because it keeps them reliant on the government, and
instead of self-reliant.
And see, people are going to tell me, people are going to be like, well, you're I can't believe you're a conservative, you're this, you're that. Well, when you actually sit down and look at the numbers and you actually do the math, you go, oh, that makes sense. And that's actually very liberal, because I'm trying to improve the quality of life for everybody, for minorities, for blacks, Mexicans, Asians, white people. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to improve the quality of life for humanity. And so these solutions are very, very simple, but I'll just come out and say it right now. It doesn't matter if it's Republican. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat. The vast majority on both sides are evil people. We have evil people in government, because these solutions are simple. We could do this, but we don't, because we have voted evil people in government who have power and want to hold on to that power, and they will not let it go. And instead of feeding us and teaching us how to fish, they're just throwing us a fish. Oh, and by the way, here's a trick. Here's a little fun. And then you can get your thing. Did you know there's 13 states that are going to tax the student loan forgiveness? So it's actually going to be considered taxable income. Did you know this? There's 13 states. Yeah. 9 of them are Democrat states, and 4 of them are Republican states. So, and granted, it's not much. It's going to be like, I think it's going to be like $800 to like $1,000 or something like that. So basically the government's giving you 10, and then you're going to have to give them 1,000 back. Like, who wouldn't take that deal, right? But a lot of people don't know that's coming, especially in these bigger states: Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts. So when they go to do I got $20,000 student loan forgiveness because of me and my wife, and they go to do their tax returns, and suddenly their tax returns because of that is going to be $1,600 to $2,000 less.
They have to pay
money, or they owe money to that.
Yeah.
They're going to be pissed. But the Democrats did this because I personally believe they did it because of the votes. Joe Biden is so drastically down in the polls, and
they're just buying votes.
They're buying votes. They're trying to get the young. You have debt, we're going to give you money so you can. And of course, I like what Biden did. Yay, I'm going to vote for the man who can't even carry on a sentence, who shakes hands with ghosts and people that aren't there, and walks around like a dude. Where's my pudding cup? Somebody give a pudding cup.
Yeah, it's scary. Corn Pop has it, probably.
That voice, where'd that voice come from? That's our president. All right, I went on. Yeah.
No, yeah. It's stupid. It's not the solution. It's irresponsible
It's
as
evil.
well. To think that, I can just it's a shell game. They're hiding what one hand is doing, right? But to say like, I'm just going to forgive your loans, but the money comes from somewhere. It comes from my pocket. It comes from your pocket, and
Yes.
it is evil to call this virtuous.
Yes.
Say, we're forgiving
Yes.
your loans. No, you're stealing money and giving it to people who are irresponsible.
Yes.
And my heart breaks for these people
Yes,
that have
it does.
student loans because they're slaves.
Yes,
You are.
they are.
You've become a slave to the government, and it is horrible. Part of it's the government's fault. Part of it is parents' fault for not teaching their kids or guiding them. But I gave up so much for college. I should not have gone to college. It was a waste for me. I'm clearly not using my degree, but even when I had a job, I wasn't using my degree. It took me 10 years to graduate because I got a job because I didn't want student debt. I got a job where I could get free rent and a little teeny bit of money, but that allowed me to be able to provide for my part-time education, taking a couple of classes now and then, and my wife's education. My wife had taken out student loans, and after we got married, she graduated a lot sooner than I did. It didn't take her 10 years. Let's just say that. She graduated and her loan started accruing interest. And so I took out a loan and paid off her loans so that we wouldn't accrue interest. And then we paid off my loans with my wife's big honkin' salary because she started making a lot more money than me. You're still here, Corwin?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, it's all good. I just didn't want to this is an important story. I didn't want to keep
No,
going.
I'm 100%.
You can turn your camera off. That's totally fine.
No, we're good.
I just wanted to make sure you're still here.
Yeah.
So I took out a loan to pay off her loan, and then we gradually paid off her loan, which was genius move, by the way. Trick to the government. Suckers! I didn't need that loan. It took me 10 years to finish. I was initially going to college to do computer science, which is a job that I could have. That's a good investment. If you can do it with loans, sure, that's worth it. After I got halfway through, I realized that was not what I wanted to do with my life. And
I remember this time.
It was a struggle, but I by the time I finished, I was basically just getting out with a piece of paper. Yep. It was the sunk cost fallacy. Essentially, I should have just stopped. The piece of paper that I have is meaningless. It means that I know Spanish.
I don't even have mine up on my wall. I know right where it's at. It's sitting on a bookshelf. Still in the little thing that they mailed it to me.
I have
7 years since I graduated.
No idea where my diploma is. So I totally understand wanting to go to college, and that's something that we should fix, and that's on society. I think that's a culture issue. College is good if you know why you're there. Go to college if you know you're going to get a job that you're going to use and be able to pay off your student loans, or don't get loans.
The 2 years of.
But if you don't know what you're going to do in college, don't go until you do, or at all. Because it took me 10 years, worked manual labor for 10 years, so that I could get out there with a piece of paper. And I could have taken out loans. I did technically, but I didn't. I worked my tail off so that I could have a piece of paper and my wife could so my wife obviously helped a lot, but we got our degrees, and we got out without any student loans. We're not in debt. And for someone else to come by and say, oh, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to pull out a bunch of student loans and I'm going to party the whole time, and then make me
Yes.
pay for that,
Yes.
it's not moral. It is extremely immoral
Yes.
to ask for student loan forgiveness. It's
Yes.
crazy. It's selfish and evil. Now, what's the other point? It's just sad. It's a sad situation, and we're incentivizing this bad behavior, and it's not going to fix the problem. It's going to make it worse.
Because now people are going to say what? The people that are going to college that are going to start now, oh, I'll take out the debt. I'll take out 20, 30, 40 grand. And it's still a fallacy, because it's just like, take out 30 grand and 7 years from now, is the government going to forgive it again? But then the problem is they've already paid so much in interest. They've already lost money. It's just an evil, vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And it's the rich keeping, this is rich. This is how the rich keep poor. They do things like this that look good, that make you look like you're being so good and so generous and so virtuous. This is the exact opposite. This is a reverse Robin Hood. I am stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. And they know this, and they will keep you dependent on them. That's this whole thing. And that's why it is evil. That's why I'm saying it's evil. They are holding on to their power, and they're destroying people's lives, and they're taking advantage of the
of young, dumb people who haven't gone to college yet.
And I'm going to say minorities. They are taking advantage of minorities. They are taking advantage, pretending that they're virtuous and pretending that they're on their side. But
we're just giving everyone an education.
And Barack Obama,
that they can't make money from.
Barack Obama said this, and I do not agree with 99.9% of the crap that comes out of that liar's mouth. But he gave up the game in his book, in his memoirs or whatever.
Right.
He gave up the game when he said, they taught me a long time ago that the black man never left the plantation. The black man never left the plantation. We just simply moved it. They don't even know they're still on the plantation. That's what this is.
Yeah.
They are keeping minorities. They're and it doesn't matter who they are. They're keeping people dependent on them. You're not a slave. You're not a physical slave.
You're just a slave to the government for the rest.
But you're a slave to the government, and they're keeping you there. You've never left the plantation. The
not
illusion.
Just it's
everybody. The illusion that you have left the plantation, but you haven't. You are still plugged into the matrix. That's what this is.
I want to share a video with you. That is about this topic. Have you heard of College Humor?
Yes.
They're hilarious.
Oh, they have some really good ones. Yeah.
But this is one of their original shows that's on their Dropbox or Dropout, not Dropbox. It's called Total Forgiveness, and it's a very good show.
Let's do it.
I think at sometimes it gets a little too inappropriate. But I really enjoyed watching it. The premise is two of the College Humor employees have massive student loans, and they decided to go to the company and pitch an idea for a show where they can get money to pay off those loans. And basically they pitched a prank show where they take turns daring each other to do something each week, and whoever and if they both do it, they share the money. And if one of them chickens out and doesn't complete the dare, then the other person gets the full sum. And each week they did this like 10 episodes, and each week the number got higher and higher, the money that they were competing for. It's hilarious. It's a good show, and for the most part it has a really good message. But it's also very sad, the state that these people are in, and I wanted to discuss it a little bit. It's called Total Forgiveness. I recommend watching it, except maybe one of the episodes is very inappropriate, but one of the dares is kind of gross. This is like the intro, introducing their characters and how much debt they have. So just watch this part. Can you hear?
This is someone I owe money to that they call from time to time. I simply will not answer this phone call. The total that I owe all in is $95,441.73. About $735 a month. That covers interest, basically. That is just the interest. You know, my parents didn't have any savings, and so I said, helpfully, well, why don't I go to a very expensive private school? Having
Look at the parties.
debt like this, having any kind of debt, I got to imagine, is so. It's so always in the back of your mind. You know, I'm going to pay this off maybe before I die.
Yep.
This is my car. I didn't have a car for a few years because I couldn't afford one. But then I found this car for $500. Why was it $500, you ask? Oh, because it's leaking oil. I owe about 60 grand. And this, like, I owe this much money after getting half scholarships for every year. I like worked super hard and applied, and I was like an RA, I had all these on-campus jobs. It feels really shitty to owe this much money. I just feel like constantly behind. I don't know how people do it. Like, I can't, it really feels like the myth of Sisyphus. I'm just like pushing this fucking rock up a hill and it's falling on me. That's truly the first time I've used my philosophy degree since graduating.
Bingo.
Okay, we're gonna pause it right there. So that's the setup. Exactly. It's the first time she's used her philosophy degree because she's going into comedy. Why would you need college to tell jokes? I certainly wish I didn't go. I'm a YouTuber now. But it sets up the problem, and I'm not trying to like throw shade at these people. I think that both of them are very funny, and I love a lot of the work that they do. But it also highlights a lot of the irresponsibility of, you know, they're going to college, going to parties like you mentioned, spending their time, a lot of their time not learning, but some of their time learning. But that culture incentivizes you to keep borrowing until you're done with college, and by the time you get out, you have a sum that's so big it's impossible to get out from underneath. Right, as she mentioned, the myth of Sisyphus pushing her boulder up the hill, that she's never going to get to the top. And it's not just the government's problem. It's not just the college's problem. I think it's also a parenting problem because this next part is Grant. It's Grant and Allie. Grant talking to his parents, and it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, so thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
It's so great to meet you guys.
You too.
We figured we'd have a good meal before you eat what I cook for a whole weekend.
Sorry, one of the dares was that he had to invite his entire family into his his studio apartment, and there's like 30 of them, and he had to live with them for a week. It's a funny show. It's a funny show. Watch the show.
Sure.
It's good.
Yes, like how many loans do you guys have for me, Pat, and Sarah?
2 for you and 1 each for the other 2.
Wow.
You know, we wanted you guys to go where you wanted to go, and, you know, we're willing to make that sacrifice, which I think most parents are.
So
I
pause
mean,
it
yeah,
real
we
quick.
could say, no, we don't have.
So just for my
So the
he
number
has
at the
100
beginning,
grand
the
in
number
debt.
at the beginning
He's-
isn't even his total debt. His parents
And
have
his
two
parents
more
have two
on
more
top of
loans
his
on him?
90,000.
Oh my gosh! So you're somewhere in the neighborhood of probably I'm gonna say 200. I'm gonna do what the government does: $200,000 to $350,000.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Okay, go on.
It's
All right, I just
insane.
wanted to clarify that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
know,
for him to
that's
go
way
party
more
for
than
4
any of us.
years, for him to go party for however
Well,
long,
I'm
he
sure
was
they
there.
were studying
And
too.
I'm sure they were studying and work, but for him to go find himself, because that's what college has become these days.
Yeah.
For him to go find himself, it was 350 grand for 4 to 5 years. Great,
Yeah.
fantastic. All right, go on.
Most parents are.
I mean, yeah, we could say, no, we don't have, you know, that's way more than any of us can ever do, which it was, but how do you tell your kid that?
No.
You know, I mean, you just.
You do.
No, That's how you
You
do
do.
it.
Yes, you do.
How
We
you
don't have
tell-
the money.
and how do you tell your kid that? I'm sorry, go to a different school. It's not just telling your kid that, it's teaching your kid that
Yes.
they shouldn't be doing that.
Yes. Yep. It's irresponsible. Those two people right there, it looks like they're probably in their late
30s.
50s, early 60s. I'm talking the parents.
Yeah.
And they're still not out of debt. So what
Well,
is their
yeah,
retirement going to be?
Finish,
What is their
finish watching.
retirement?
Finish watching the clip. They go into that.
Just don't. You make it work.
You went to 3 and 4 different schools, and you got in there, and we were like,
Oh, they say there's things that we just can't do. We can't pay off our mortgage because of your student debt.
to 3 and 4 different schools, and you got in there, and we were like, okay, this is what you want to do.
You were so excited.
We were so excited, and we wanted to help you.
Yeah, it was.
We've all been very expensive. What's that like?
We don't do things. There's some things you just don't do.
Dad, we would like to pay off our house.
Yep.
So it does affect us. It does affect us. We, let's put it this way. From a parent standpoint, we're so glad we did it.
Oh,
You know, they laugh because he's loud, but you know why he's crying? Because
glad
he
you
had
did,
to
sir.
sacrifice so much.
You
He's had
got
to sacrifice an astronomical amount.
No, like I'm crying just thinking about it. My heart absolutely breaks for these people. It goes out to them, and because it's so depressing.
It is. It is. All right, go on.
But it's all like I'm calling out the parents a little bit. Like you have to say no. That's
You
the
made
whole.
the bed. You got to lay in it.
Well, and that's just parenting in general. Half of parenting is just saying no to your kids,
Teaching
them right
your
from wrong.
children responsibilities, and teaching your children responsibility.
Yeah,
Teaching them responsibility.
that's dare I say your only point as a parent. That's your only thing. That's why you exist, is to teach your kids.
Ugh. All right,
it's,
go on.
it's horrible. Like I'm teary just thinking of the plight that these people are in. It's very sad.
Keeping
this
them on
is-
the plantation. Keeping them on the plantation.
But this show is really good, because they tell they talk some sense into these two people, and then College Humor brought in like a financial advisor to help them get their lives under control. And this is spoilers for the show. This is the end of the show. How much of their debt they paid off by doing stupid pranks on each other, and consolidating their loans and stuff.
of the full amount.
That's how financial freedom feels, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's a huge burden
how-
lifted off your
That
shoulders.
is how financial freedom feels. When you make money, and I know this because this is where I'm at, apart from the fact that I'm not in a house yet, me and my wife have zero debt. Our cars are paid for, everything's paid for, no debts. So the money I make, we're saving for a big down payment on a home. Big down payment.
It is freedom.
The money I make is mine. When I get that check, it is mine. I don't have to think, oh, I've got to pay this and that and this and that. And then I'm left with this minuscule amount to make bills work and to enjoy life. That entire check is mine. And that is so satisfying. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So he just paid off one of his loans. They mentioned a shock collar because that was one of the dares. He had to wear a shock collar for a day, and it looked very painful.
I just paid off one of my federal student loans.
Only 20 more to go. So you just got paid. What are you doing with the money?
We had Jay Fleischman come back in. So
Snowball
I am
it.
paying off
Take the money you're
one
paying
of
for
my
the other
three-
one and keep pushing
Yeah.
it to the
Yeah.
until a debt
Yeah.
snowball. A debt
And
snowball. Yep.
and then that's one of the reasons why I recommend the show is and these people are doing it the right way. They're trying to come up with a solution to pay off the debt themselves, and I think that is
Yes.
and it gives a ton of really good financial advice.
Yep.
about debt consolidation and the snowball effect. Which, but here they'll get into their numbers here.
Okay. Yeah.
Private loans and 2 of my federal loans. I'm paying off the 2 that have the highest interest rate. My monthly payment is going to go from about $735 a month.
That's insane.
Down to, it's roughly 435.
So
So his numbers just got cut in half. But I can't imagine paying $800 a month. That's a mortgage payment.
Well, now
And you heard from his parents
are $2,000 a month. But
ours is higher than that. But but you heard his parents say that they can't pay off their mortgage because they have this loan, his loan.
Yep.
These are her numbers.
my entire monthly payments were over $900. I paid them to 3
That's
different
crazy.
places. And after consolidating, each month I pay $191.84.
Wow.
So hers is significantly lower because she got an income. She did some program where one company bought the whole. I think it was a government-assisted program where they bought the entirety of her loans, and it was an income-based repayment plan. So she'll be paying for a lot longer, but she only has to pay $200 a month.
Incredible.
It's crazy. It's sad. And there's a bonus clip. I encourage you to watch the show because it's very good advice. But there's a bonus clip because this came out like 3 or 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, and this next clip is from a show that just came out a couple months ago, and it shows you the difference in attitude towards repaying these student loans, and one of these people I don't think is being very genuine, and is the kind of person who's asking for student loan forgiveness, and you'll see why I have such a big issue with it, because of this next part.
Will the person who's opened up
This is a show called Dirty Laundry. It's like a 2 truths and a lie thing. Everyone like shares secrets, and then the room has to guess whose secret it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So the secret, you'll see.
6 credit cards in the last 2 years, take a drink.
Who's it gonna be?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Why 6?
Listen, that total forgiveness money paid off.
Oh yeah, right. That went away in like the blink of an eye. I consolidated all my student loan into an income-based repayment plan. Then the pandemic hit, 0 student loan payments. Then I feel like all American companies really needed money, and they just started approving everybody. And in that blink of an eye, I got 2 Amex cards.
Wow.
And a Visa credit card. And now I have 6 credit cards.
Do some of your cards have fees after the first year?
So the thing is that every single one has fees. I pay a lot of money per year.
Allie, you have to close some of those.
I made a mistake because I think each one is about $100 a year.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
What crypto do you own?
I started testosterone, and when you do that, you have to buy crypto. And I didn't want to, okay? All of a sudden now I'm night and day. I am on Reddit. I'm on websites. I'm buying crypto.
Allie, no, you're gonna lose all your money.
I lost $800 immediately.
I don't know how they're laughing. It's heartbreaking. She's transitioning as well, putting all of the money into that.
But that is the debt forgiveness. That's the irresponsibility. I don't care.
That's
money.
It's the incentivization. This is exactly the behavior that you are encouraging.
Yes.
When you're saying, "Hey, oh, you know that dumb thing you did? Don't worry about it."
Don't worry about it.
I would just seeing the difference in attitude between Allie and Grant's, I would gladly help pay for Grant's student loans because he's trying to pay them off. And the other isn't. So,
well, I think we've said our piece.
Yeah.
Those are all my thoughts. Do your own research.
Do your own research before going to college.
Before going to college.
By all means, go to college if you know you're going to be able to make money from your degree.
If you know what you want to do,
there is a purpose for college, and I really want to stress I don't want it to come off like I'm saying college is worthless, because that is 100% not true.
College is worth it if you want to get an advanced degree and do something like an accountant, a doctor, an engineer, a scientist, because you're wanting to study, I don't know, microbiology, or you're wanting to be a surgeon or in medicine. If you're going for an advanced degree that requires education, go for it. If you're going like Alan did to get a piece of paper, you are going to
That's not how it started off.
No, it started off, but like you said, you fell into that hole. I've already put some. I've got to finish. You shouldn't have
sunk cost fallacy.
If I had not met my wife at college, if I had not met some of my best friends at college and met the woman of my dreams in college would have been an entire waste for me. And
you mentioned my wife's master's degree. We paid for that one. Well, I'm not making a whole lot of money right now, but I used to have a job. But she paid for that out of pocket from our savings for her master's degree. And she chose a college that was not very expensive. It's less reputable, but she had to make that sacrifice.
Yep.
For responsibility.
Be responsible, people. Be responsible, and don't trust the government. Don't trust the handout. I promise you, it's not what it looks like. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
They're trying to buy your vote, and they will forget about you the second the election's over.
And they're keeping you on the plantation. That's their job. They're keeping you plugged into the matrix. That's just what it is. They know they are, but they know they're selling the lie so well that people are buying into it. And it's destroying this. It's destroying the nation. It's destroying us.
Everyone deserves a free education. I even think that's wrong. I don't think everyone deserves a free education.
Anyway,
I think everyone should strive to be educated.
This definitely was not. This definitely. I apologize, YouTube. It was a big topic, but this was definitely not a small talk.
Right now, we're only 4 minutes over the hour mark, and I think that's a great place to call it.
Next week might be something a little more lighthearted. We will figure that out.
Yeah.
Until that time.
See you on Sunday for Best Gen.
Absolutely. We need to talk before that. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. We'll talk tonight. Maybe we'll play some StarCraft or something. Yeah. We'll talk tonight.
Rings of Power, baby.
Yeah. Oof. Okay. Peace.
Bye.